Hello, my name is Matthias and welcome to the FPL Scope and my team selection video for Game Week 4, where I'm likely to use a chip for the second game week in a row. I did use my free hit chip in Game Week 3, so this regular Game Week 3 team that I had before I used my free hit chip is not what I actually got in Game Week 3. You're going to see my free hit team pretty soon. But after going through what my regular team would have scored compared to my free hit team actually scored, I'm going to talk about another manager of the week that used a free hit this week, the best manager that used the chip. Because I already talked about the best manager that didn't use a chip on the FPL Scope podcast, where the manager actually had no captain and no vice captain and still managed to get like 72 points, which is kind of crazy. But it's a different manager this time around. It's a manager that used a free hit and got a quite decent score, but still the regular team that they had was also pretty good. After that, I'm going to go through the free hit selection team for Game Week 4. I have made a suggested squad for you guys. If you are on a free hit this week, it seems like it's more popular in Game Week 4. For good reason, I guess, because people had Nottingham Forest players and Man United players, which I didn't do for Game Week 3, which was one of the main reasons I did free hit in Game Week 3. But yeah, I'm going to have a Game Week 4 free hit squad as well. And then finally, I'm going to talk about my Game Week 4 selection and my plans to use another chip this game week most likely. But anyways, I'm gonna go quickly through Game Week 3 because I already did it in a different video where I talked about whether a free hit in Game Week 3 was successful or not. So I've already talked about this team already basically, but as you can see here, this would have been my team if I didn't use my free hit in Game Week 3. I would have got scored 40 points, which is not the best, despite some kind of surprising points there from Richards, Mateta and Bowen specifically. Those were the only three players that actually got some points returns in this game week. But yeah, Bowen completely surprising everyone with a goal, almost 2 goals against Nottingham Forest and 3 bonus points there. Mateta scored a penalty and then got 5 points in total for it because he got a yellow card and didn't get any bonus points. And Richards got 8 points, which was quite surprising against Aston Villa. That was another reason why I free hitted that game week, because I didn't really have the best squad. You can see I have Diouf also on the bench there with 10 points. Was likely not going to start him anyway because he played Nottingham Forest away. I thought that was going to be a tougher fixture than Agbadu's Everton at home, but turned out that Diouf actually was the much better pick in this game week. So yeah, obviously could have done some other options. Could have had Mbeumo in for Palmer, for example. If I'd done that and captain Mbeumo only, that would have been a great score. But what I likely would have done would have been to bring in Chris Wood, because I did think he was going to have a pretty good game week against West Ham, because West Ham looked so bad going into Game Week 3. And Wood and Nottingham Forest looked pretty good. So I most likely would have done probably option 1, where I bring in both Mbeumo and Wood. But those two guys are players that I don't really like to have long term either, especially now with how bad Nottingham Forest and Chris Wood looked in Game Week 3. So quite happy that I did the free team, because as you can see, with the free selection that I did select, I did get 58 points, which again is not the best. It's not ideal. We're going to see one of the more ideal free hit squads pretty soon for the manager of the week, but still pretty happy with 18 more points from my free hit team. No transfers used. I didn't use 2 transfers. I still have 2 free transfers in the bank. And I've given myself some more time to ponder on my team. And I've gotten some more news now, especially with a lot of injury news going into Game Week 4 as well, which doesn't really affect me that badly because I have like very few players that are in injury trouble and stuff like that. So I've been pretty lucky so far. But yeah, Game Week 3 free hit could have been better. Like I mentioned in the previous video, I wish I had done 3 Man United midfielders, just gone for all 3 and just safeguarded myself. But I was kind of just hoping to get like the best of all worlds really, and get the 2 Man United midfielders that did score points, which was Mbeumo and Fernandes. But sadly, I had Mbeumo and Cunha instead, when I could have really had all 3 rather than Dorgu, because I did actually set up with 4 defenders, which I don't really suggest you should do on a free hit squad. I've seen a lot of people talk about how like 5 defenders is the new meta, and we already know that DEFCON players are going to be amazing. We know that Van Dijk's going to get DEFCON points all the time apparently. I think that is like hugely overblown after 3 game weeks. Like we're putting way too much emphasis on who's gotten defensive contribution points already this season. Because if you go back from last season and you look up after 3 game weeks who had defensive contribution points there, someone that had a lot of defensive contribution points was William Saliba for Arsenal. He had 4 out of the 6 possible defensive contribution points after 3 game weeks. So yeah, after 3 game weeks of the season, he had 4 defensive contribution points. But for the entirety of the season, after 38 game weeks, he had 12 defensive contribution points in total. So he got like 33% of his defensive contribution points in the first 3 game weeks, and then it didn't really get much at all for the rest of the season. And that could easily be the case with Van Dijk as well. So I don't think he's like this nailed on, gonna get DEFCON every single week kind of player. We don't even know, like with the likes of Senesi and stuff, if they're like super nailed on for DEFCON points, but they at least have a good history of defensive contribution points, so I think that could last potentially. But all in all, I don't think like the 4 at the back, 5 at the back super formations for free hit or even wildcard or like long term is like the way to go. I think defensive contribution points are more like a long-term prospect rather than like a short-term free hit type of situation thing that you have to deal with. So yeah, that's just a little bit of a rant against the 4 at the back or 5 at the back formations that I've seen sort of become like the new meta, I guess, with everyone being excited about defensive contribution points when we think we know who's going to get it, but we don't really know because you can't really tell by 3 game weeks. Just like you can't really tell who's going to be the goal scorers and assisters for the season either after 3 game weeks. It's still a very small sample size. But anyways, this was my free hit team. Pretty happy in the end with 58 points. Like all things considered, could have been better. I'm happy with Elanga getting just 1 point, coming off the bench for Newcastle. Newcastle were really disappointing in that game week in general, which has sort of put me off advising you guys to get free hit players from Newcastle against Wolves this upcoming game week, but we'll get to that pretty soon. But first, we're going to take a look at the manager of the week with the best score this past game week in the FPL Scope Mini League. 83 points for Georgina Bell, who I noticed had a high score on a free hit, the same as someone named Stephen Bell, and both of them had wrestling related team names, which I really like as well because I'm a big wrestling fan. I'm actually wearing a Ultimate Warrior t-shirt right now. So I appreciate that, wrestling fans in the league. I hope you guys are watching. If there are indeed 2 of you, maybe it's just Georgina Bell with 2 accounts. That has happened in the past sometimes. I know Kevin, who's my co-host on the Physical podcast, his dad is running 2 accounts, basically one with his mom's name. So yeah, that could be what Georgina Bell has done, or Stephen Bell for that matter. I don't really know. Or it probably is. More likely it is just 2 people in the same family trying to compete against each other in FPL, because they have done a bit of a different tactic so far this season. What's interesting with Georgina Bell as well is the chips remaining, as you can see there. Bench boost game week 1, wildcard game week 2, free hit game week 3. So my suggestion for game week 4, you can probably imagine what it will be. But for game week 3, amazing score on the free hit, of course, tripling up on the Newcastle defense, which is kind of interesting because the team originally had actually 2 Newcastle defenders. So clearly someone that had a lot of faith in Newcastle defense already. But Pope, Schär, and Trippier with a clean sheet each, scoring 17 points in total there. Cucurella also got a clean sheet, 6 points there. And Mbeumo was captain with 20 points as the only Man United midfielder for that matter. So good choice because Mbeumo was actually the best Man United midfielder this game week. Fernandes got a penalty super late, but Mbeumo was actually the one that looked the most threatening out of the 3. So good choice there. Enzo Fernandes with 12 points was amazing in the absence of Cole Palmer, which is probably going to be the case once again now in game week 4. So that could be a really nice punt for you guys if you want someone for a game week 4 free hit, for example, with Palmer most likely not playing that much, but he might play as well. He just has been really late back into training. But yeah, Grealish with 10 points, amazing pick also this past game week. I did not really think about Everton against Wolves enough for this game week because Everton had looked really impressive and Wolves had looked really depressive or bad so far this season. So yeah, Grealish and Diaye, those guys scored well. Dewsbury Hall, obviously, that should have been more in consideration for me on the free hit myself. Brendan Johnson from Spurs, again, not the best. Same as me with Elanga, just the 1 point. Got subbed off early. Johnson did. Thiago with a goal, 6 points for him. Chris Wood was one of the major disappointments from this game week, but at least this manager only had 1 Nottingham Forest player, and that probably explains why they ended up with the most points this game week as well in the FPL Scope Mini League. Joe Pedro also, the vice captain, with 9 points. Another great pick on the free hit. And you can also see on the bench here, Dewsbury Hall with 12 points. Could have been so much better if you had Dewsbury Hall rather than Johnson as the final midfielder. Could have been 95 points, which would have been amazing on a free hit. But still, all in all, 83 points on a free hit is just something you should be happy about regardless, because it is pretty tough to choose a free hit team. As you can see from my team as well, I got 58 points and I'm pretty happy with it because it's not really as easy as it seems to get a lot of points on a free hit. I should know because I make free hit teams every single game week. I did that all last season as well. Done it so far this season, and oftentimes it is pretty close to your actual own team score. So yeah, it's not as powerful as you will expect the free hit chip for a single game week. But anyways, 83 points is fantastic. Let's see what's happening in the next game week for Georgina Bell, because as always with the manager of the week, we always give, or I always give at least advice for the next upcoming game week as well with the team and going forward how they should manage their team. But yeah, like I mentioned, interesting thing with this manager is that Georgina Bell has used bench boost game week 1, wildcard game week 2, free hit game week 3. So I think it's only natural to use triple captain in game week 4. Just complete the set, 4 straight game weeks of chips used. And I think triple captaincy is actually a really underrated venture this game week with Haaland, especially because everyone's going to be on Salah captain. If you want to go super differential, go with someone that no one has even as captain, no one even really has in their team, that has still really high points potential. I think it's Erling Haaland against Man United. He just scored like 5 goals for Norway against Moldova. Looks amazing. He's been the best asset so far in FPL by far, I think. He's looked the most threatening. Despite City struggling, he's been like super good. So I think Haaland, having him now at this point of the season is like a huge advantage, and potentially getting to triple captain him when no one even has him, or very few people, at least amongst like content creators and stuff like that, like engaged managers, very few people have him. I think he is actually a really nice triple captaincy shout this game week. So yeah, just go all out. You don't have Salah, just go for Haaland, triple captain, try for the best and hope for the best really, because so far so good. 57k overall with the current rank, so could push on and have a really nice start to the season with all those chips used, basically. But yeah, other than that, Palmer is still a doubt for this game week. He's not really super fit to play. He's going to play at most 60 minutes, I would think. Probably is going to just come off the bench and play a little bit in that game. So I think it's fair enough to sell him. Chelsea don't have the best fixtures either, so selling him is pretty easy. And buying Semenyo, who is my favorite player to bring in as a replacement for pretty much anyone in midfield. If you have the money, I think Semenyo is going to be a fantastic pick, especially this game week against Brighton. I think that's going to be a pretty high scoring game. So that would be my suggestion. I think that's like the pretty straightforward suggestion in general. You have 1 million in the bank, which is going to be even more now because Semenyo is so much cheaper than Palmer. So do the one transfer of Palmer to Semenyo, have a lot of money in the bank to do whatever you'd like with your team, which is already looking really damn good, I think. That's probably why you wildcard in game week 2 and free hit in game week 3. So yeah, I think your team is looking really good. I think with Palmer to Semenyo and triple captaining Haaland, you have a really good chance of having a really nice game week. So yeah, just to go through the team, in goal, Pope from Newcastle against Wolves at home, Schär against Wolves at home as well with no Strand Larsen. That should be a really good game for clean sheet potential for Newcastle for the second game week in a row after facing Leeds this past game week. Mark Gahey as well was like one of the reasons why the free hit wasn't really as successful in game week 3, because Gahey got 15 points on his own this past game week. So with Gahey, the 2 Newcastle defenders getting clean sheets, and Mbeumo getting 20 points as your captain anyway, and Haaland getting 9 points, this team would have actually scored 69 points last game week without the free hit. So you only earned 14 points from using your free hit anyways. Could have been even less if you'd done like Palmer to Fernandes. You could have had even more points and been closer to that 83 points you got on the free hit. But all in all, can't really fault it either. Who could have expected Guehi to score a goal, get 15 points against Aston Villa? Like, that's not really something you would expect to happen. But yeah. But anyways, for this game week, you still have Declan Rice as well against Nottingham Forest at home. Gyökeres against Nottingham Forest at home. A lot of people are wanting Newcastle or Arsenal players this game week. So yeah, you're ahead of the curve in that regard as well. In a game against Nottingham Forest with Ange Postecoglou as your new manager, I think that could be really fruitful for you with Rice and Gyökeres there in the team. Also, Josh King against Leeds at home, another great player to have this game week. Fulham look to push on at home and get their first home win of the season. And I think Josh King, who's been really impressive so far, could get his first legitimate goal that actually stands this time against Leeds. So I think he's also a really good player, of course. Watkins, I think, is someone that is easily someone that you can keep. Everton have been pretty bad defensively, and they still don't have Brandwaite back. So Watkins should be really good for this game, even though he's been really not that good so far this season. Gyökeres, like I just mentioned, is fantastic. Someone that a lot of people would want for this game week, especially. And then Haaland, who I think is like a super viable triple captaincy choice. So the team overall is looking fantastic. You even have to bench Reinders for Man United, the fixture against Man United at home. You could potentially bench Mbeumo instead. I think that's like a judgment call if you want to bench Mbeumo or Reinders, but I think Mbeumo is just a little bit more attacking. So even though he plays with the worst team, he has more routes to points than Reinders. But with Cherki out, Marmoush out, I think Reinders is going to be a really nice player to have. You could also bench King potentially, because Leeds have been like pretty decent defensively and Fulham haven't been the best offensively, but I think King is also a really nice player to have this game week. So you have a bit of a benching dilemma this game week, which is maybe another reason. Maybe you should just like stay with the team and not do a transfer and just keep Palmer, bench him for Reinders, and play that team. That's the other option you can do. I would still probably triple captain Haaland just because I think it seems more fun. So yeah, you have some options there actually. You could just go and stand pat and do nothing, bench Palmer for now and save him for a rainy day, get another free transfer, have 2 free transfers for next game week to bring yourself some more interesting transfers for game week 5. And yeah, you have a pretty solid team in general. So yeah, quite like your team. And you could either get Semenyo for Palmer, who I think it's a really good pick. I think Semenyo is going to be amazing. Or you can just stick with your current team and start Reinders over Palmer as well. So plenty of good options for your team this week. And beyond that, I think you're looking to be in a really good position. 57k overall already. Even though you used all your chips, they have been worth it, it seems like. The wildcard has been pretty nicely set up for you to do well for several game weeks. So congrats to you on a good start to the season, Georgina Bell. And let me know down in the comments if you're actually watching and what your relation to Stephen Bell is at all. So yeah, and also wrestling is always nice to hear if you are a wrestling fan, of course. Anyways, let's move on to what I think is the best squad to have currently for game week 4, which is going to be the free hit selection for game week 4. As I've stated already in this video, I make a free hit selection for every single game week of the season. Did that last season as well, so I do have a lot of experience from free hit, and I know what to expect from free hit points as well. So this team is actually looking really damn good, of course, on paper, as it usually does with free hit, because of course you're going to select as many players as you'd like for free without any extra charge. So it should be a really good squad. You should be pretty excited about your free hit squad in general. As I was last week when I got 58 points, which was less than I expected, but with Nottingham Forest losing 3-0 to West Ham, I started the risky run with an early free hit. So should you free hit in game week 4? That's another question. I think it really depends on your team and your needs, really. I'm not so sure if I would, but if you don't have any Liverpool players, for example, you don't have Salah or Haaland, you started the season with Palmer and Saka, like I could definitely see why you would want to free hit. You could also wildcard. I think wildcarding in game week 4 is more viable, actually. But I think this is a pretty solid team. If you have like a team you're happy with for game week 5, especially in game week 6 and beyond that, and you just want something else for game week 4, then definitely free hit and try to select some of these players. I would suggest, because I think these are some pretty good selections overall. But yeah, the main thing, I can actually just go through the team from starting from goalkeeper. So I have Leno in goal for Fulham against Leeds. I think this is like one of the most likely clean sheet games. And I think for goalkeepers, just try to select which fixture looks the best for clean sheets. Defenders, you have some more added stuff with defcon points, attacking returns, some stuff like that. So you could go a bit more rogue there. I think Anderson is still a really good pick there as well, but he's on the bench for now. But I think Leno could be the one to have from Fulham in defense with him playing against Leeds, which is a really nice fixture. Gabriel Magalhaes, I have some slight doubts that he's going to play just because Saliba's back and he's been with Brazil and playing in Bolivia and traveled far and all that stuff, which is also a concern for my own team because I do have Gabriel myself. But I think he's going to start against Nottingham Forest and can easily score goals against Ange Postecoglou's Nottingham Forest. That could be a good game. Gabriel is always a threat to get clean sheet or goals. When it comes to defensive contribution points, maybe not so much, but he has so much upside other than that, Gabriel. Playing for the best defense in the league. Also double up with Crystal Palace defense, Munoz and Lacroix. Both those guys are amazing for pretty much everything. Munoz has actually been like decent enough when it comes to defensive contribution points as well. But he's always a threat to get an assist or a goal. Super attacking. He is like one of my favorite players this game week in general. He was one of the first selections that I had for the free hit team, so I think he's really good. And Lacroix is not that much worse either. He's 0.5 or 0.6 now cheaper, but he still has some goal threat and assist threat. He also has a much higher or like a really good chance at defcon points. He's usually pretty good for that in general. And clean sheet against Sunderland at home should be also within reach because Sunderland have been pretty lackluster going forward this season overall. When it comes to Liverpool, I have actually not gone with Salah. I've captain Haaland up front, and I've gone with 3 other Liverpool players instead, Wirtz, Gakpo, and Ekitike. I feel like those guys are going to get more points than Salah, at least combined. And I do think Haaland is slightly the better captaincy pick over Salah. So yeah, gone a bit different there, just because I figured I want to have Liverpool coverage against Burnley, because yes, Liverpool have been good so far, of course, this season. They have 9 points out of 9, but they haven't been as electric as you could have expected from them. But Burnley is a completely different fixture than what they've had so far. They've actually faced some pretty good teams so far this season. Arsenal last game week, which is a really tough team to break down. Newcastle, who are really good and really up for it, especially defensively. Against Liverpool in game week 2, and Bournemouth have shown to be a really good team both defensively and offensively this season. So I think Burnley is going to be a fantastic fixture for Liverpool players. Salah, of course, is the crown jewel. I think he's like the best probable option, but without him, you can actually have more Liverpool players and have Ekitike, Gakpo, and Wirtz. I don't think there's going to be that big of a downside to Isak coming into the team. I think he's just going to get the last 20 minutes of the game from Ekitike. I think that's going to be most likely what's going to happen. We've seen Ekitike now. He averages 76 minutes per game so far this season, and he is the third highest goal scoring forward or scoring FPL points forward this season as well. So yeah, Ekitike is still a great shout, even though Isak is in the team. I think Ekitike is going to play 70 plus minutes again and get some nice points again against a really weak opposition, I think. Gakpo is probably my second or maybe my first favorite Liverpool player, or from the three that I've selected. Salah is still like the more safe option, but he's also a lot more expensive. But Gakpo, I think, is going to play 90 minutes again, as he's done so far this season. He could also be subbed off for Isak potentially rather than Ekitike, but you have both, so you're safeguarded to have at least one of them left on the pitch after Isak comes in, most likely. Same with Florian Wirtz. I think he's going to play still. There's a lot of contention for places with Liverpool, but Wirtz is most likely going to start because he is that major signings. I think he's also someone that could potentially have his huge moment for this game week. So yeah, if you don't have any of the Liverpool assets already and you can free hit them in for the Burnley fixture, I think that's a really nice place to be in as well. Semenyo in midfield, I mentioned him already. He's my favorite transfer in midfield this game week. If you're looking for a replacement for Palmer or Sarr or anyone like that, I think Semenyo is the best long term because he's looking really good so far this season. He has played in international break, so that could be a downside to him. Maybe he's not as ready to play 90 minutes, but I think Semenyo is like one of those guys that plays 90 minutes regularly anyway. It doesn't really matter for him. So I think he's a really good option, especially against Brighton at home this game week. I think this is actually a better game week than game week 6, where a lot of people are looking to free hit to bring him in for the Leeds fixture. But I think Brighton are more susceptible to concede than Leeds this season. So I think Semenyo is actually better in this game, which is at home as well. The Leeds game is away in game week 6. I think this is a better fixture, and a lot of people are sort of overlooking Semenyo because they're going to bring him in for game week 6 free hit, which is like his easiest opponent, I guess, with Leeds. But yeah, I think he's really good this game week overall, Semenyo. Grealish as well against Aston Villa. That is his homecoming. That's going to be a special fixture. I think that could go sort of both ways. We've seen that in the past. When you return back to your old club, it could hamper you and make you less confident and less viable to get points, or it could go the other way and make you like super up for it and ready to score against your former team. So I think that could be the case for Grealish. He seems like the type of guy that would be someone that likes this situation. I haven't really looked up his stats against Aston Villa in the past for Man City, but I think he has a decent shot at getting points for Everton, who I think have a good chance in general, just because they're such a good offense so far this season. I think Grealish could be a really nice option here. And Ndiaye also has a knock, so he's a bit unsure for this game week. And with the Aston Villa fixture being like the homecoming game for Grealish as well, I think that is more than enough reason to bring him in on your free hit for game 4 as well. Also, keep saying that word. Holland as captain, I mentioned that already. I really like him. Man United are really bad defensively. Holland is really good offensively, can score a lot of goals easily. We just saw that for Norway, so it could easily happen again for Man City. Ekitike I already mentioned, and Mateta, who is my favorite offensive player from Crystal Palace, I should say. Even though they have been hit with a lot of injuries. Wharton is going to be out, Sarr is going to be out, Jeremy Pino is like a doubt for the game, I think. So they're not going to look as good offensively, but I still think they'll have more than enough in the tank to beat Sunderland, because Sunderland have had some really easy fixtures so far. I don't think that they're that good, even though they've made some good signings, and I think Mateta could take advantage of that. On the bench, I just had Dubravka just because I didn't bother doing the graphics really. You could pick anyone else. You have a couple more million in the bank actually, so you could pick someone like Petrovic playing as Brighton, for example, as your backup goalkeeper if you feel the need to have someone. You could also just pick the Fulham backup in case Leno doesn't play. Actually, that wouldn't be the case here because you have triple up on Fulham, but anyways, Dubravka, don't mind him. King and Anderson from Fulham, would really wish to start them actually, but I do think the starting 11 here is good enough to not have them in, but they're both viable, like super good picks to have in a Game Week 4 free hit team as well. Then finally, Goodmanson is just like a cheap option to have on the bench, playing as Fulham, which is like not the best team offensively either, so Leeds could keep a clean sheet again because they've been pretty good so far this season defensively. When it comes to other options, you could of course go with Salah route rather than having Holland. If you do that, you would have to sell Wirtz, I think, for Salah, and then you can drop down Holland to, I don't know, someone. I'm not really too happy with any of the strikers. I mean, I know like people are like into like Voltemade from Newcastle, but I don't really have that much faith in a new guy coming in playing for Newcastle who look really bad so far offensively. I'm not sure if I buy that much. Richarlison has come back from Brazil journey, like traveling. Same goes for João Pedro, so there are like slight doubts as well. So Not sure if I like any of the striker options that much this game week. Maybe if you can get someone like Watkins and cover yourself with him. But I'm not sure if you have enough money in the bank to do Wirtz to Salah and hold on to Watkins. I don't think you have enough actually for that. So maybe you have to downgrade somewhere else to get that, which could be viable. You could just downgrade Grealish or someone else in midfield and start King. You have several options there. Or downgrade Munoz or Munoz I would start actually. Maybe just start Anderson over Gabriel and downgrade Gabriel, and then you have enough money to get the players that I just mentioned. You could have Gyökeres as well. He could also be your option rather than Watkins. Actually, he is my best alternative forward. So yeah, Gyökeres rather than Haaland, and then Salah rather than Wirtz. If you want to go safe with Salah as the captain instead, you could do. Also Virgil van Dijk against Burnley, of course, that's also a nice fixture, but I want to attack Burnley more than I want to defend against Burnley. So yeah, I prefer the Liverpool attackers rather than Virgil van Dijk in defense. So yeah, that was the free hit team. Let's go to my own team selection. Finally, my own plans for game week 4. I do have 2 free transfers because I used my free hit. Haven't used a single transfer this whole season, apart from the free hit transfers, of course. So I do have some options there to play with. I also have 0.5 in the bank, which I started the season with. So I'm looking forward to use those funds also. But yeah, my first priority is just to do Palmer to Semenyo, or first and foremost, I'm probably going to bench boost regardless of what I do. I think the bench is like good enough. That's pretty much what I'm thinking. I don't really care that much about the bench boost. I just want to get it out of the way when I have the chance to. All my players are seemingly fit, it seems like, apart from Palmer, who I'm going to sell for Semenyo. And then I'm going to just bench boost with Dubravka against Liverpool, which is not the best fixture, of course, but you're never going to really have the best fixture as your backup goalkeeper or your starting goalkeeper for this matter with Sels against Arsenal away. But I do have King against Leeds. I really want to start him. I don't want to bench anyone else. I could also do the same thing where I just don't do the Palmer move, keep Palmer and start King. I could do that as well and just save transfers, but I really, really like Semenyo and I really want to bring him into the team. Diouf against Spurs at home. You saw him against Forest away. I don't think Spurs at home is that much tougher of a fixture. And Diouf can get assists in any game really, and could also potentially get a clean sheet, but I do expect Spurs to score in that game. But who knows really with Diouf. He was also close to getting defense contribution points last time in the back 4, so maybe that's a new thing with him also. That would be amazing if he's good at defense contribution points on top of everything else, because he is a really good option if West Ham start ticking along nicely as they did in Game Week 3. Agbado against Newcastle, I think a lot of people would sort of scoff at the thought of bench boosting with him, because a lot of people are even like not even starting him over Forest players against Arsenal, which I think is kind of crazy, because I think Wolves, like, they've been really shit so far this season, to be frank, but they've also faced 3 really good offensive teams. They've had really tough fixtures in general so far this season, and I don't think Newcastle have looked that impressive offensively. They have actually had the worst, I think, expected goals so far, Newcastle, or bottom 3 at least. So I do think there's a better chance than expected from a clean sheet here for Agbado and Wolves. And also there's potential clean sheet points. But of course, it is at St. James's Park. That's a bit different than Newcastle playing away to Leeds. So maybe I'm going to get burnt in this regard. But yeah, just want to get the bench boost out of the way and not worry about it for the rest of the first half of the season, really. Because I don't think it's that valuable of a chip anyway, and I don't want it to hamper my team overall. So yeah, just want to get it out of the way. So most likely I'm going to do Palmer to Semenyo and bench boost, activate the bench boost. But I could also potentially just, yeah, if I do keep Palmer and start King, I don't do the bench boost, of course. I could also do that and just save the bench boost for later. But again, just kind of want to get rid of it and use it in a game week when a lot of people are doing -4s and all that stuff. I think that's just kind of a fun thing to do anyways. But yeah, my other option, which I could do, is to bring in Haaland and captain him if I want to go super aggressive and attack this game week. Because if I do Palmer to Devaney and Bowen to Haaland, I have enough money in the bank. If I do Palmer to Devaney, I have enough money in the bank to do Bowen to Haaland. But I'm probably leaning towards not doing this. I just want to... I think Salah could be good this game week as well. I don't feel good enough to do like a transfer to bring in Haaland as captain. If I had Haaland in my team already, I would captain him over Salah. But like spending a transfer, even 2 transfers to bring in Haaland just to captain him over Salah, I'm not sure if he's that much better than Salah as a captaincy choice this week. Also, I kind of want to give Bowen another game week after he looked really good against Nottingham Forest. Really should have scored 2 goals in that game away at the City ground against Nottingham Forest. So I think he's actually like a decent player overall. That's why I picked him in game week 1 anyways. But he hasn't really gotten any points for me so far, but I do think he has the chance to come good eventually. The West Ham also have good fixtures from like game week 8 onwards, and they have decent-ish fixtures in the next few game weeks as well. So I think Bowen is still like a decent candidate, but I also kind of want to give him a chance to impress. I want to give Gyökeres a chance to impress, and I want to give Rodgers and Watkins a chance to impress, and then maybe I might do either Gyökeres or Bowen to Watkins next game week. I could do that if they look better now, because I do want to jump on those Aston Villa fixtures, even though I do have Rodgers already in my team. But anyways, so those are my transfer plans and my captaincy plans. I'm probably going to stick to Palmer to Semenyo and bench boost, or activate the bench boost. That just seems the most tempting to me. But anyways, let's go through the team before we end the video. In goal, I do have Sels against Arsenal away. It's, again, the worst possible goalkeeper pairing. Sels against Arsenal away and Dubravka against Liverpool at home. But again, it's goalkeepers. Just like I don't really care that much about the bench boost, I don't really care that much about goalkeepers, because who knows what's going to happen with goalkeepers in any given game week anyways. In defense, Gabriel Magalhaes against Nottingham Forest. That's like my one little thing. Like, if he doesn't play, then obviously I would have less players on the bench boost, or I would have only 14 players when I use my bench boost, which is not ideal, and even like 13 players if you don't count Dubravka as an extra player, because he could easily get 0 points with the amount of goals that Take could concede in that game. Anderson is the next player for against Leeds at home. I'm really confident about him as a pick. Also Richards against Sunderland. He's also someone that I really like. Of course, I picked Munoz and Lacroix in the free hit team, but I think Richards is close to as good, because he's pretty good for defensive contribution points anyway, has some goal threat as well, and also is playing for the same defense, which will get the same amount of clean sheet points, of course. So I quite like him. Salah as captain, I think he's perfectly viable, of course, as the captain, even though I do prefer Haaland slightly. Like I mentioned, I think Salah is still top tier candidate level, or captain candidate, I should say, this game week. So yeah, no qualms about captaining him this game week overall. Palmer, I'm going to sell for Semenyo, because I do really like Semenyo, like I mentioned a couple times already. Rodgers, he has good fixtures. I'm just going to stick with him and hope that he does well. Scored for England. I think with the new signings for Aston Villa, they're going to look a lot better. And Rodgers was a bit of a slow starter last season also, so not really too fussed about him. Like, he has good fixtures, just going to keep him for that. He's only 7 million, doesn't really take up much funds in my team anyway, so I'm happy to just keep him for the good fixtures, really. Rodgers. Reinders, I think, could have a good game week against Man United at home, just because Marmoush and Cherki are out. That most likely means Doku on the left, and Reinders gets the license to roam forward like he did in game week 1, where he scored that amazing, had a goal and an assist in that game and looked amazing overall. I think that could potentially happen again against Man United in what I would suspect would be a high-scoring game. Gyökeres against Nottingham Forest at home. I think that's also a really good option, of course. He was my alternative in the free hit drafts, because he is just a good striker. He has looked a bit off it for Sweden. He has looked a bit out of form currently, but again, this is his last sort of audition to keep his place in the team. But I already got the points that I wanted from him in game week 2 when I captained him against Leeds and got 24 points from him as my captain. So I already got my money's worth for the free hitting game week 3 and having Gyökeres over Watkins from the start of the season. That was sort of the plan from the start of the season, and I'm really happy with that, how that has worked out so far. Gyökeres is actually someone that a lot of people are looking to bring in, even though I'm talking about potentially selling him. That's because he has some tough fixtures, and I do quite like Haaland. I do quite like Isak pretty soon in FPL. I do quite like Bowen, actually, for the semi-long term, if he proves his worth against Spurs. So I'm not completely opposed to selling Gyökeres, but I'm also quite content with having him now, especially for the Nottingham Forest fixture, so pretty happy with that. Mateta was also in my free team. Of course, he's one that I really like to have. And then on my bench, King, who's also someone that I would ideally want to start. That's the main reason why I'm bench boosting, really. Diouf, who I think can get points in any game week, as we just saw against Nottingham Forest in game week 3. And then Agbadou, who I think has a decent-ish chance to get some points against Newcastle, more so than most people would think. So yeah, I think that pretty much wraps up my plans for game week 4. Pretty set on Palmer to Semenyo and bench boosting, but please let me know in the comments if I'm making a huge mistake. Maybe I am, but I just want to have some fun and do something that feels a bit different and at the same time kind of right for me and my team. So yeah, I'm hoping for the best. I'm hoping for the best for you guys watching this video as well. I hope you enjoyed it and you took some information out of it that you liked, or that you were entertained, or whatever. So yeah, please like the video or subscribe if you did enjoy the video. Otherwise, I'm just gonna say bye bye, see you next time, and that's it.